Hi folks, this is Bob Piorun, and this is one of my musically speaking shows documenting the music scene in central New York, especially around Auburn. Today I'm very happy to have a wonderful Auburnian. I believe you're Auburnian. You were born in Auburn.
Yes, born and raised.
Yes. I have Mr. Nick Hrynyk, who is here to do a concert in Auburn at Willard Chapel. He's up from New York. What got you into the piano, for example? What did you start with?
Growing up, I always had music in the house. My dad is a piano player.
Oh.
And my earliest...
A classical piano player or a piano player?
I wouldn't say classical piano player. Rock,
Okay. I see.
blues, and some like folk.
Mm-hmm.
But my earliest memories of music are like dancing with my sister to my dad playing.
Oh.
And when I was 9 years old, I started taking lessons myself.
Who are some of the teachers locally that you studied with?
My first teacher was Dee Piper from Elbridge, and I continued to work with John Spradling in Syracuse, New York, and continued with another teacher out of Rochester, Daniela Mineva. She's originally from Bulgaria. Yes.
Let me ask you something. How did you get into the classical piano scene? I mean, you must have heard something, or somebody, one of your teachers, steered you into that, as opposed to maybe pop or rock or whatever.
My dad bought me a few CDs of classical music,
Right.
and that really opened my eyes up
Can you
to that
specify
world.
any first things, Bach, Chopin, anything that got your ear early on?
Yes, Bach Brandenburg concertos,
love those, yeah.
Schumann, the piano concerto, Tchaikovsky, Nutcracker, and the Swan Lake, Chopin, lots of Chopin.
Right.
So some Baroque and Romantic music,
Right.
a little bit of Debussy were on those CDs.
So through high school, you studied piano privately.
Yes.
And you went to school in Auburn. Then after that, you went to Eastman, right?
Yep.
Is that correct? You went to
The
Eastman?
Eastman School of
You got your
Music.
bachelor's degree at Eastman?
At Eastman, yeah. And I also played the piano in the Auburn High School orchestras, in which we also did some classical music in the orchestra.
Did you play like some of the Broadway things they do? I mean, or you just kept...
Victoria Kinney did. She was she still is the director of the orchestra there. She would definitely spice things up with some movie soundtracks, some Broadway.
So by the time you were at Eastman, you must have decided that you were going to pursue a musical career. Obviously, you didn't invest in a school like that.
Yes, for sure.
Do they encourage a young person to pursue making a living as a performing soloist?
I think some schools do, and I think Eastman definitely encourages that, but they also train you to be well-rounded so that you're prepared to take on
students.
Yes, I would say they prepare you to wear lots of different hats as a musician, not just the soloist.
Right. Did you ever read Mozart in the Jungle? Did you read the book?
I have not read it.
Oh, you should read it. It's about coming up in the classical scene in the modern world, and you have to read it sometime. So, anyways, you get to Eastman, and you went there for how many years?
4 years.
4 years. Okay, and you got your bachelor's. Okay, so after Eastman, you go to Indiana University.
Yes.
And again, what drew you there?
So I went to Indiana for my master's after Eastman, and they also have a great music school that brings students from around the world. And I think that I collaborated probably with some of the best musicians ever at that time.
Oh, really?
Their opera program in particular stands out.
It's funny, I don't connect opera with Indiana, but that shows you what I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it became to be such a good opera department, but Yes, so I collaborated with a lot of singers when I was in Indiana.
So you did a lot of accompaniment. You learned to accompany the singers.
Yes, I think actually learning to accompany singers and also my just sight reading became so much better because you would be put in situations where you need to read on the spot.
Now, how long were you there in Indiana? You stayed there for
2 years.
Oh, 2 years?
Yes.
So you got your master's degree there.
Yes.
And then you went to New York.
Yes, I did one more program in school after Indiana at NYU.
Oh, and okay.
Yes.
And then you got a gig there. You got a teaching job, or what did you get?
While I was studying there, I was teaching piano lessons to students at NYU. Some of them music majors, a lot of them taking piano for the first time. So yes, I got a lot of teaching experience when I was at NYU.
Well, enough verbiage. Let's have you play something.
This is a piece by Charles Griffiths. He's an American composer. He is actually from Elmira and studied in Europe and lived in New York City.
What's the time
until the
frame?
end of his life.
What was the time frame
He's the late 19th century, and he died in 1920, I believe, actually from the Spanish flu pandemic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He was a pianist?
Pianist and composer. And
what did he write for principally? Piano works? Or?
A lot of piano works, some symphonic works.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I'll have to check them out. Well, let's hear a little bit of them. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. It's hard to imagine that coming from Elmira.
Well, I actually realized while I was playing that I didn't tell you the name of the piece, which is The Fountain of the Acqua Paola. It's inspired by an Italian fountain from
Pines of
by
Rome,
that sort of thing. Yes, by Spiti. Sorry. At the beginning of each piece in this collection of pieces, there are poems by William Sharp. So the inspiration is from a poem by William Sharp about a fountain in Italy.
Wow, it's quite a piece of music. The harmonies kind of struck me. I wasn't ready for all that. It seemed very modern. So, what do you think? This was written at the turn of the century,
I don't remember the exact date, but it's around actually maybe the early 1900s, 1900 something. And he was very influenced by impressionistic composers earlier in his life. Some of his later works are even more adventurous harmonically, but the colors are very influenced by like Debussy and Ravel.
Right, you can hear that. Yes, some of my favorite. Mm-hmm. So let's get back to you. So you're down in New York. Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Has COVID affected what you think you might be doing? You probably can't tell what you might have been doing, but what do you think? What's going on in New York as far as your situation?
So COVID had a big impact over the past couple years. All of my performing stopped. Luckily, I have some piano students who continue to study with me online. Mm-hmm. But if the pandemic hadn't happened, I don't think I would have started writing my own music. This period of downtime, it left a space for me creatively, and I started writing music again, which I hadn't done since I was maybe 13 or 14. It was a very actually creative year, and I'm thankful to have had the space, the time,
Maybe it was meant to be. So it's interesting. I happen to be thinking about, we have 3 people from Central New York. They're simultaneously down there now. Joey Townsend, flirting with Broadway and cabaret. Jimmy Dransak going to Juilliard. And you know both of these guys, right?
I don't know Jimmy personally, but I know of him, and I do know Joe.
You have to make contact with him. He's a wonderful player, and you say you go by Juilliard.
I'm always walking past Lincoln Center and Juilliard.
Well, I'm sure maybe you'll bump into him one of these days. But anyways, he's a wonderful player. But that's interesting. We have 3 young, talented people of the basic same age down in New York at this time, attempting to make a living in a hard craft in music. So now let's talk about your piece. You are actually here in Auburn today because you're doing a concert at Willard Chapel. The date is unimportant because this show will go on into the future, but you are here to do a concert, and you will be including this original piece. And I notice it's called The Homecoming.
Yes.
Correct? Is it about coming home to Auburn, or is that just what does that mean?
So there are a couple of things. I was asked to do this concert at Willard Chapel because they just got a new piano, Steinway. So they asked if I would come do the first concert on it. So I always love to come back to play for Auburn. Right. And I thought it was a great opportunity to debut my work that I've been writing. So Homecoming is the name of the EP, and there are 5 pieces on Homecoming.
Oh, okay.
There is one piece called Homecoming in that set, but there are 4 other pieces.
Were you thinking of Auburn as Homecoming, or that's just a...
So Homecoming was inspired by me spending a month here last year. I was doing actually a live streaming concert, and I was revisiting places I had been when I was a kid, and it was very inspirational, and I started writing my own music. And it's homecoming in that I was back in Auburn, but also I was getting back to writing music, which I like I said, I hadn't done since I was
So
a
the
teen.
homecoming also means coming home to writing and so on, not just the city
Yes,
itself.
it's like a self-discovery as well.
It's interesting, a young person coming back, I never had this experience, but I went out on the road a number of times. And every time I did, when I came back for a while, I felt restless and uncomfortable. I didn't feel like there was enough going on. And then I settled into the small town thing. How do you feel like coming from New York? Does a place like Auburn just seem slower, or there's just not the same vibe of excitement and enthusiasm? Or
I actually enjoy getting out of New York for a little bit. I think it makes me want to be in New York more when I get time away. So, my time away, I don't mind if it is relaxed.
You know,
I actually
I got to go home and see mom and dad, and
I'm happy. I'm happy to. I stay with my parents when I'm home, and I really cherish that time. Now, yes.
Well, that's good to know. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's. You're going to play an excerpt of. Why don't you tell us what you're going to play? This is an original piece, and it'll be out soon as a recording.
Yes. So this piece is called "Somewhere in Brooklyn," and it's the last piece on the EP. So I'm no longer at home in this piece. This is
okay. You're back.
Yes.
Back in Brooklyn. So, all right. Let's hear it. Wow, beautiful. That was beautiful, Nick. It's interesting. We have this beautiful November day, and just as you're playing it, the sun is coming through the window, and it was shining on you at that time. And I'm sure that you'll see that on their film.
One thing that I would add is that this piece, it always makes me feel a lot of longing, and
yes, I get that feeling from it. Yeah.
And I think that there is that longing for Auburn and the beauty of this place. So
Yeah, it sounds more like Auburn than Brooklyn, but it is that particular part is Brooklyn.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is the context of, or the story of it is that it is taking place in Brooklyn, but there's that sense of nostalgia.
You brought your hometown with you.
Yes, I think so.
When you came down.
But I wanted to thank you so much for having me.
Right, it was a pleasure. It was a great. I'd like to thank Mr. Peter Mack. We have this beautiful home. We have this beautiful Mason Hamlin piano, right? I mean,
yes.
You obviously have made it sound wonderful, and it looks beautiful. And I'd like to thank Mr. James Reichert for all the work he does filming the show and editing it. So, well, good. I will plan to try to see you at your concert, but we'll hope to see you in the future when you come back to Auburn. So we're going to leave with one final number before the show ends. Thank you very much. This is Bob Piorun, my show Musically Speaking, and we'll see you in the future with a new installment. Thank you.